Okay. Hello, hello. Mic check. See, tell me if that's okay. I got to make sure I don't puff into it later, though. I was reviewing my latest live stream and I was puffing into the microphone too much. Howdy, howdy. Okay, we got Jesse, Alan, and Brennan. David DeLorenzo's here. Tommy Taylor's here. Hello, hello. Jordan's here. Hey, hey. Jesse's here. Yep. Everyone say hi to everybody. Okay. So my name is Patrick. The channel name is Jack Crafty. I have lots of videos, mostly on Flintknapping, but I do these live streams now 3 times a week, mainly for my members and loyal channel subscribers. Hey, Ashia's here. Mike Mason's here. Styley Designs. Hello, hello. Uh, I'm going to be mainly reading questions off the chat so that I can do more napping because I'm doing lots of napping now on the live streams. Where's my rock? I'll be napping this raw piece of Texas chert. And if that doesn't work out, I can nap this raw piece of Texas chert. All righty. Nice points in the auction tonight. Thank you, thank you. Okay. So let's see. I have to get my camera phone set up to do these now. Hope everything is okay. Yeah. Let's see. The AG point is awesome, says Jesse. Cool. Thank you. Glad you like it. All right. So it's already 6. Let's start. Okay. Get my bag of napping tools. I got a bag or a box. Let me show you this here. I got a box of natural materials. Antlers. I got some vertical punches in here. All kinds of stuff that I used to use. I used to use pieces like this. This has some napping marks on it. I don't like using these for pressure flakers. I usually mount them to a handle or something. But I was looking at these, trying to figure out what am I gonna use for napping tools and what am I gonna use for arrowheads? Because I'm making arrowheads out of antler tines as well in the future. Right, so I got that out of storage. So now there's proof of life on the antlers. Am I going to use any antlers tonight? No, because they're risky. I don't want to mess up. Richard Cummings is here. Hello, hello. Ross Wellman's here. Aaron Wilson is here. Hey. Oh yeah, Aaron. I'm going to ask you, or I forgot to ask you, is that green gold obsidian something you sent me as a slab? Let me know. Scott Lauer's here. TJ's New Life is here. Good morning. Thomas H. Hello, hello. Jordan says, I went to a rock show Saturday in South Dakota. I was the only flint napper and the only one with arrowheads. I sold everything I napped. Lots of repeating. Now I know how you feel. Yeah. Cool. Let's see. So I'll be doing mainly answering questions so I can do some napping instead of trying to read every single chat. So you guys talk to each other. Dalton's here. Hello, hello. I have a bit of an allergy attack or a cold, so I'll be coughing on and off. All right, let's see. So I'm going to try to not have too much dead air or not too much no yapping. I'll read the comments if I can't figure out what else to say, but I'll try mainly to answer questions. Roger McNabb's here. Hey. Yeah. Okay, and if you're brand new, tell us where you are as far as the state or country. If you haven't commented much before, like even if you don't remember that you've told us where you are, tell us where you are again. That way, somebody might be just down the street from you, and you guys can get together and share rocks and napping experience. Yeah, who knows? One of the new guys might be right next door to an experienced napper, and I'm sure the experienced napper will be willing to spend a couple hours showing you the basics to get you on the right track, show you what you're doing wrong so you don't keep doing the same thing wrong over again. I know there's not a wrong way and a right way to nap, but there is stuff that you might be doing that'll delay you quite a bit. Yeah. So that would be qualifying as wrong. Like what you might say? Like working with material that doesn't work. Yeah. I mean it's not wrong. It just will take you forever to learn if you're working on material that doesn't work. It's from northern Nevada, the obsidian, the green gold obsidian. Okay. So it is you that sent it to me. I just wanted to make sure it was you, Aaron. I hate getting mixed up. Let's see. TJ's new life. I live in Ireland. I thought TJ was in Australia. I thought you were in Australia, TJ. Now you're living in Ireland. Hmm. Like maybe I got that wrong from the beginning. Okay, so let's see. Let's break into this. Do I have my? I don't have my larger bopper. All right, so we're gonna have to abuse the 6 ounce bopper. Right? I thought I had everything in my bag, but I don't. All right, so what kind of rock is it? This is the kind of rock I find on dirt roads in Texas, on some of the dirt roads that I know I can find rocks on. Right? It's not that great, especially if it's cracked, but I don't see major cracks in this. All right. Oh, I need my glove. I don't have my gloves today either. Dang it. What did I do? Normally I have everything in the bag. Oh, I was napping all morning. That's probably why I got everything all discombobulated. All right. So this is what it looks like. Let's see. It looks almost green or something in the video, but it's gray. Yeah, there's some cracks in it. See that? So it's good as long as it doesn't have that. So I don't know where this is going to go. Yeah. I don't know where we're going to go from here. TJ's New Life, Australia. But why'd you say you live in Ireland up there? In the other comment. You're from Australia? Or no, I got it wrong from the beginning. Let's see. Brennan says I thought it was Australia as well. I've seen Good Day You a few times. Yeah. Patrick's gambling with woodpecker lips. Tommy, hopefully Pat can make some points from it for the auction. Yeah. I'll be napping some more of that bullhead shirt or bullhead flint. Okay. Red Eyed Patriots here. Roger, I watched 3 or 4 years before commenting myself. I've been here silent like since 2017. Oh, dang. I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that. Or if you told me, I forgot. Yeah, same thing. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm losing mass really fast because this is all cracked. Man, what am I gonna do? I want to do a rock to point, and it's not letting me. Unless you want to see a little bitty point. I got the other piece, but let's see. Hold on. When this happens, sometimes the microphone gets turned off, and I'm gonna buy some new equipment. I'm going to buy those headphones or the microphone set up with headphones that actually stay on well and I can hear my own voice, so that if I puff into the microphone or if I have low volume in my voice, I can actually tell what's going on. But I can't buy all this stuff all at once. Yeah, I got to eat too. And I don't want to buy the cheap stuff because I've done that before the whole time. And it's no fun making doo-doo with what you got. I want to make some good stuff instead of doo-doo all the time. Yeah, I want to make some good quality videos. So I can make something out of this little piece, I suppose. I got some good, just now I got a couple of good flakes. No? Yes? But they're tiny. I had a request to start making some arrowheads out of these tinies, out of these things. So I'll be doing that. Yeah. I have a feeling I'm puffing into the microphone. But yeah, like I said, I've got it in my shopping cart on Amazon. I'll order that as soon as I can. The proper microphone setup. I can't have a boom with a microphone because I gotta be moving around too much. I'll be bumping into the microphone, or I'll just have to keep adjusting it every time. I don't want one of those. I need a headset so that it goes with me wherever. And those microphones you can clip onto yourself or hang from your neck. I always get interference from rubbing against my clothing, although I think the latest one that you can hang from your neck doesn't do that. But I don't want to take a chance on those because I know something's going to happen. I move around a lot when I'm flintnapping, so I think it wouldn't be good to get one of those microphones. So I'll just have to wait a little bit longer and get me the headphones set up. What is this? Somebody knocking? Okay, hold on. Hello. Yeah.
My name is Francis. I'm up with Vidium today.
Yeah.
We're talking to folks about the fiber optic internet that was installed in the neighborhood about a year ago.
Yeah.
Has anybody reached out with you guys already?
Yeah, we have it already.
Oh, okay. That's my bad then.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
That hardly ever happens, and it happens on the live stream. Hey, somebody gave me $9. Aaron Wilson, thank you. Awesome. Yeah, the cable TV guy knocked on my door on the live stream of all times. He's never, and no one's ever knocked until today, and I've been here a year and a half. Let's see. So let's see. TJ's New Life says, I lived in Australia for almost 62 years. Wow. Well, there you go. So all right. We'll get this straightened out. So now you live in Ireland. Okay. Aaron says, it's really good obsidian. If you hold a thin flake up to the light, you can see the green color. There's no sheen, so I don't know why it's called green gold, but that's what I was told. Yeah, I made a point of your green gold in the auction, and I held it up to light. If you watch the auction video, you can see it. Did you watch the auction video, Aaron? I hope you liked the arrowhead that I made from it. I was trying to make a longer one, but I broke the slab a couple times. Tommy says, yes, I'll bid on it. Everything I bid on tonight, Ralph already knocked me out, so I may have to revisit it later. Yeah. Oh, well. Yeah. Let's see. Mike Mason said, I did something like that once, Mike. One day I was surprised. One day I was surprised when Patrick responded to my comment, though. I thought it was being trolled for sure. Thought I was being trolled for sure. All right. So Aaron Wilson gave me $9.99. Thank you. All right. What's the next set of comments here? Scott says, Tommy owning anything made from it is a biggie over here. Definitely try to get one if one comes up. It's very special material in UK lithics. Talking about bullhead flint. All right. Let's see. TJ's New Life says, I don't live in Ireland. I'm just confusing you. Okay. But the comment that you were in Ireland, that means you're in Ireland but not living there. Now I don't know what's going on. Bill Taylor's here. Hello, Patrick and everybody. Yes, yes. Jesse says, the green obsidian is the stuff from Mexico and South America, right? No, this one's from Nevada. So not all the green stuff is from Mexico, although there is some green stuff, green obsidian from Mexico. There is some, but this particular piece is from Nevada, if I remember correctly. Just look back in the comment section. Aaron Wilson's comment. Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. TJ's New Life says he's still in Australia. Okay, well, that confused me a lot. You've succeeded. All right, I'm going to start napping this other piece of chert and see if I can come up with a point. Because the other stuff, I mean, I can do it, but it's so clunky. It's kind of tiny. If worse comes to worse, I can do it. I mean, if this breaks in half or something, yeah. I don't know what kind of quality this is, although it's very unusual color. It may be good quality. Yeah. Can you see the angles and stuff? All righty. Yep. I'm always going like this, so I don't know. See, I can't, when I'm getting ready to strike, I can't tell if I'm doing this or not. I'm barely in frame. Okay. Yeah, I blew away the platform with those first 2 hits, and then I hit on that nasty broken up area, and I got a flake. Yeah. I don't know why it does that. People say, you're not making good platforms on this, dude. Why do you do that? I always smash the platform. See, that right there is a remnant of the smashed platform. I make these really nice platforms, and then I try to hit them, end up smashing them. So I just go, I'm just going to hit wherever, and it ends up working. Yeah, I can make a little arrowhead out of that. So if you're just joining us, I do now napping on each live stream, although I may end up doing more talking than napping. I'm going to try to answer questions. So please ask a question now that you have an opportunity to get it answered in real time. Maybe I can even demonstrate. Yeah. If I don't cut myself or mess things up and delay myself, we should be cooking with gas, as they say. And I'll be able to answer questions and stuff. All righty. So I've got a bunch of stuff I've been napping on video that I need to finish up on video instead of trying to finish it off camera. Although I am offering a couple of bifaces in the auction in the box of broken bifaces that were started on video, but I'm not going to finish on video. But I'm going to try to do a lot more of finishing on video and just make doo-doo with whatever happens. If I break them, I break them, okay? I'm just going to have to live with it. It's much harder to keep them intact when I do it on video. I've got to nap in a way that I don't normally nap. Now, it could throw people off That's why I don't like doing it. That's one of the reasons. There's several reasons why I don't like doing complicated stuff on video, where it's the opposite of what it should be. I should be doing the most complicated stuff on video because that's what people need to see. The problem is, in order to keep it from not breaking, I've got to nap differently than I normally nap and not do complicated stuff, not do difficult stuff, not do extremely challenging materials, and that sort of thing. Because what's the sense of showing you how to break it? Yeah. And, if I'm going to be spending my time doing videos, at least I want people watching them. Yeah. Because I could be doing some other things that are more productive with my time. Yeah. I got to justify why I'm spending so much time doing videos. I could be doing stuff out in the yard, and this house needs to be almost completely remodeled. It's too small for one. The original builder of it was not a plumber or an electrician, so things are messed up. I don't know how it passed inspection. Maybe there wasn't an inspection. Yeah, I mean, if this was built in Texas, it wouldn't pass. I have experience with inspectors in Texas, but I don't have experience with people up here in New England. Apparently, they figured out a way to pass inspection with this little house, but the plumbing's messed up and the electrical's messed up. For one, the circuits aren't strong enough in certain areas of the house, so you end up tripping the breaker. There's not enough capacity in the circuits, and the circuit breakers are not rated high enough, and the panel's probably not rated high enough. To handle a house. You can handle a shop, but it's just got a little panel. It looks like one of those sub panels that I had installed in my other house. Anyways, I can be doing the remodeling here, but I'm doing videos and stuff like that. Yeah. Research. I got to look up to see what's going on the internet. Even though it's all same-o, after a while, it just gets to be all same-o. Let's see. Don't forget to hit the like button, says Tommy Taylor. Andrew Muntz says, Chert? Yeah, this is Texas Chert. Andrew Muntz is in the house. Tell us, someone send Sal a message so he can join us. I'm napping Chert today, yes. This is a Texas Chert. It's kind of brownish, which is unusual. And it's not too bad, actually. I started with this stuff, which is better quality, but cracked. I mean, it's nice and smooth. This flakes well. This one is a little bit rougher as far as texture, and it doesn't nap quite as well, but it's not cracked. So I can start getting something. I can start getting something out of it. Yeah. Let's see. Jesse says he's heading up north to Colorado this week, Wednesday, for 5 days. Going to get out of this heat. Going to visit Mesa Verde. Never been there. Pretty excited. I know I have to be outside the park. Yeah, you can't collect any materials inside the park, that's for sure. So I did the first stage of the reduction on this. I removed the cortex and flattened it out. Right? It was this is just a typical little landscape type stone. And believe it or not, some landscape stones in Texas have nappable chert within them. Yeah. You wouldn't know it at first, but I'm not sure where I got this piece from. I don't recognize the material. Yeah, it's an unusual color and an unusual nappability. It naps really well because there's no defects in it. And I can run, longish type flakes. Like I always say, the napping is not the easy part. It's always a pain in the butt. The results are what are nice. The napping is never nice. When I say nice, it naps nicely. I should say it naps cooperatively. It's always a pain to nap, no matter what. But the results vary, and sometimes you get good results. And it helps to have material that's cooperative so your results can be better. Yeah. And, years of napping experience also help. Yep. A friend of mine sent me a bunch of texts asking various questions on small points and, in particular, serrations and stuff on arrowheads. Which is better, serrated arrowheads or non-serrated arrowheads? And why did they make each type? What's the reason for serrations? What's the reason for non-serrations? Those are very difficult questions to answer. That's probably why he asked me, because no one else is answering those questions. Today, you can ask AI actually about those questions, and that's what he did. But AI tends to regurgitate internet conversations on the subject. And today's consensus on the internet about serrations is that they cause more trauma. They're harder to make than a non-serrated edge, and a couple other things I forget. But both those things are wrong because they leave out the critical aspect: is it's sharp. The serrated edges are not going to make or cause more trauma if they're not sharp. All right, so the serrations, they might actually be notches and not serrations, and they're just there for looks. Believe it or not. Some points have features, some arrowheads have features that are put in them just for looks. Like what? You might say. Like an extra notch somewhere. Like fancy flaking. Fancy flaking is usually just for looks. Oh, there's a crystal pocket. I don't know if you can see. Right in there. Crystal pocket. I can't see. Anyway, I was trying to answer the questions, and I'm glad I do a lot of research because I can recall tests that have been done with serrated points versus non-serrated points. And the verdict is it's inconclusive which one penetrates better or cuts better. So if you look at the test results, they're about the same for serrated points and non-serrated points. Arrowheads for true arrows. And they've also done some work with atlatl dart points, serrated and non-serrated, and compared the penetration on various things. Although the testing's not extensive, they haven't done 1,000 arrows with that. They've done like maybe 100 arrows at a time on each test at the most. So it's not like a big sample, but they have determined that it doesn't make much difference unless they're very, very sharp. Let's talk about serrations. If the serrations make the edge very, very sharp, in other words, if the serrations are well done, it can cause more damage, yes. But it has to do with the skill in sharpening, not necessarily the skill in actually putting in the serrations. because a sharp, non-serrated edge is very effective as well. It causes a lot of trauma as well. In fact, if serrations were so great, why don't they make all these modern steel arrowheads with serrations? Because it's not legal? Yeah, that's one reason. It's not legal to use serrated arrowheads. Why? It has to do with the perceived cruelty to use, I think. Someone tell me the reason why the serrated arrowheads are not allowed on modern broadheads as far as the hunting game animals goes. You can use serrated arrowheads on non-game animals like coyotes and stuff. But someone tell me what they think is the reason for not using serrated arrowheads on game animals if serrated arrowheads are so good at causing extra trauma and a faster kill. Okay? Is it just because they're stupid? Could be. All right, let's see. No questions? I don't see any questions. Okay, so I'll continue with this. It's the thinning stage and the sweat stage. You can't see yeah, I don't have my, let's see. I got an extra light. But I don't think it'll help. Anyway, here we go. The second stage is done where I thinned it, preliminary thinning, now secondary thinning. You can just, if you want, call the whole thinning operation the second stage, but I like to break it up because it's a different mindset. Preliminary thinning is a different mindset than secondary thinning. Preliminary thinning gets you there where you don't have to go much further at all to to get it functional. In fact, if it's going to be a knife, you should leave it at the preliminary thinning stage and just sharpen it. If it's going to be an arrowhead or a metal dart point or a projectile point, you can thin it down a little bit more because it's easier to sharpen that way. Also, it's easier to haft, especially on a thin shaft. Okay, this does not have a large diameter. But if you're not worried about that, if you're not worried about resharpening, and you're not worried about mounting it to a small diameter shaft, you can stop at this stage. But I'm going further for two reasons. One, they went further back in the day. And two, people want to see how to get it as thin as possible. And it has nothing to do with anything else except they want to see how it gets thin. Hold on. Okay, I'm just going to have to talk without voice. I mean, talk without having a perfect voice because the phlegm is starting to catch up with me. Yeah, it doesn't like me talking. Anyway, so I got questions asked about the serrated versus non-serrated. And the moral of the story is they're about the same. And test data shows that they're about the same as far as effectiveness. And we can deduce things about that from modern day broadheads as well. If serrated was so good, why aren't all the modern steel broadheads serrated? That kind of thing. And my experience doing research on the internet and looking at different studies as well gave me some background to answer those questions. To the best of my ability and my memory, it doesn't matter whether the arrowhead or the projectile point is serrated or non-serrated. It comes down to just personal preference and culture. Yeah. Now we got into the discussion of what is it better for war points, because if they cause more pain, that'd be better to put the enemies out of commission, right? And yeah, absolutely. We just don't know how much more pain it would cause because there's no tests on that kind of thing. We're just assuming that it's going to cause more pain. That's my assumption also. I assume that a serrated arrowhead is going to cause more pain and therefore cause a lot more distress. And the guy that gets hit by that kind of arrowhead is not going to want to fight. He's going to want to try to remove that arrowhead as quickly as possible and not be in the fight. So excuse me, guys, I got to remove this arrowhead from him. It's freaking killing me. Yeah. Okay, this is not gonna. This doesn't grind down very easily, so I do have experience knowing how much to grind it with indirect percussion. But I still blow away platforms. But I can tell this is not going to work. Because at this stage, I got to hit it just as hard or even harder than I was hitting it just a little while ago to get big flakes off of this. Yeah, like that. Mm-hmm. See, I like to get big flakes even on little points. But I got to hit hard for that. But it didn't go more than halfway, so that's a little bit disappointed. It should go more than halfway. There's crystals in there. You can't see. The lighting is not right. But this is a crystal pocket in there. Right? You can't see. It's not like a first person view. Anyway, that could present a problem. Mm-hmm. There's also a boogery spot that's not solid right there. It's like cortex. The white area looks like bird turd. That's an inclusion that cannot be sharpened or napped. So I probably had to use a pressure flaker on that to get rid of it. But let's go on to other areas. I'm not worried about those right now. Because there are more pressing issues. Like there's still too much thickness at the base. Yeah, it doesn't want to focus. It does zoom in on faces. So it'll get my face looking at this thing, but that's not what I want. Let's see. Brent says that had to be some sort of ethics-based thing that phased them out. That's just a guess. Assumed pain. Yeah, if anyone knows, let's see. I imagine serrations would make poison arrows more effective. Thoughts? Yeah. I wasn't going to say this, but I hate it when people say or ask thoughts. Yeah. That means I don't really know the subject very well. What do you think? Yeah. My thoughts? You want to hear my thoughts on making poison more effective? How about just adding more poison? Yeah, that makes it more effective. Increase the dose. Increase the dosage. How do you increase the dosage on the poison? I've seen at least one artifact that had this mysterious resin throughout the whole foreshaft. The arrowhead had some of that mysterious resin on it that looked like it was blobbed on, and it was blobbed on over the whole foreshaft, the whole 6 or 8 inches. So, if you want to increase the effectiveness of poison, you just add more poison. That's my take. Now, since these little projectile points are so small, what would it benefit to add little bitty serrations on there? It's small as it is. All right. Now, is adding serrations more effective than just hitting the target with another arrow? Because you can hit the target with more than one arrow. You know that, right? You don't have to just shoot one arrow and wait till it dies. Or you don't have to go, hey, dude, take your shot. We're all going to hold back. Just take your shot. Back in the day, they would go, all right, everybody ready? Yeah, I'm ready. We're all ready. I mean, they didn't say anything, but they were all ready. 5 of them, and pepper the deer with 5 different arrows. That's what they used to do. How do I know that? I don't know for sure, but I've heard stories. Yeah. I've heard stories. There's evidence, there's indirect evidence. There's just lots of arrow points within carcass remains. So that means they probably use more than one arrow to bring down the beast. That kind of thing. But these days we have a different culture. We have a different mindset. Dang it. I just got a step fracture. Yeah. It's the step fracture technology. It's creeping up on me. I just can't avoid it. Yeah, it's a technological thing that I can't avoid. I got rid of it, but it still looks kind of cruddy. It does have an inclusion right there that is kind of crystalline or crystalline. See that reflection off of that? So I don't know if I should continue to thin it right there, because one of these flakes could be the flake of death. The whole project just goes to you know where. Is that gonna do it? Ooh, that looks nice. Let's see. Yeah. So I did flatten it a little bit more, enough to haft it. Do I have to haft? Yes, I have to haft. Do you have to? Do you have to haft? Yes, I have to haft. But why? Can't you just display? Display. No, I have to haft. Yeah. Well, I have to potentially show a haftable item, or I have to show an item that is potentially haftable. There you go. I have to show an item that's potentially haftable. Haftability. Yeah. Okay, let's see if that did it. Did it do it? I think it did it. It flattened it more. Even more. Yeah, I feel better with that removed. Yeah. So it's got the thinness that I want now. So the secondary thinning is complete. Yeah. Now I can just make notchings. And we're not even 45 minutes into the live stream. Okay, so let's see. Let me try to catch up a little bit on the chat. See what I've been missing. Let's see. Okay, so the ethics-based thing. Tommy says there is a mission local that has auction every week that people donate to them. They have 2 turkey roasters and okay. Let me see what else is here. Jesse says you would think serrations would help saw through ribs, but tests not really showing that. No, stone doesn't saw through ribs very well at all. In fact, stone will be napped by bones when the stone becomes when the stone contacts bone, the bone will nap the stone. In most cases, in some cases, you'll see artifacts that are stuck in bone. Okay, or you'll see it broken off, but the tip is still in the bone. That's pretty common to stick and break. But to slice and smash through bone is rare for stone. Now, steel arrowheads will slice through bone. Now, I'm not saying that these won't slice through bone because you'll say, but deer ribs are like really weak. So, I mean, I could throw a hammer at him and then break some ribs. Yeah, I know. Okay, so this can break and slice through deer ribs. Okay. And, small game, rabbit ribs, barely even there, bird ribs. Yeah, okay. But we're talking about, I guess, elk and bison size animals where the ribs are substantial. And they were shooting this size point at little dart size points at elk and bison and larger animals that have substantial ribs. But if these hit a rib, it's not going to cut through one of those ribs on those animals. It might slice into it a little bit, but it's not going to smash. It might stick in one and break. Okay. With serrations, same thing. I mean, serrations usually require a lot of sawing to be effective, not just one swipe. You know what I mean? Serrations do work, but typically you need more than just one swipe. And a projectile point is like a one-shot deal, as you know. Okay. So that's my take. There's not much actually on the internet that's going to answer a lot of these questions about effectiveness because we just not only don't have people doing correct experiments, but you can't really test how painful something is unless you want to subject an animal or a human to intense pain. Right? That's not going to happen. Not these days anyway. So what am I doing now? I'm trying to pressure flake. It's not working. And this is the kind of stuff that you can only see it in the first person view. You're not going to be able to zoom in and see what I'm doing. I don't think. So it's going to be a little boring. That's why I haven't done a rock to point on a video of this type yet. Because what are you going to see? There's not much to see here. Is there? I mean, you can set up your angulometer to get angles on this. But guess what? In case you don't know, angles for pressure flaking are about the same as angles for percussion. It's funny how that works, huh? Yeah. Pretty much the same. Why are there differences between the pressure flaking and the percussion? Percussion, there's more variability. That's why they're a little bit different. But for the same type of flake, it's the same angles. You're just using a different method of imparting the force onto the stone. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so I gotta be careful when I'm doing the tips. I have a tendency to mess up or to install step fractures on the tip of my projectile point or the knife or whatever I'm making. I have this bad habit of installing step fractures at the tip. It's too much in force. I'm figuring out I just am applying too much force into the point. I just don't know how to not do it that way. How do I not do it that way? I don't know. If I don't impart force into the point, I don't get a long flake. But if I, rely on that force inward, I get these step fractures. See, the tip of this is not where I want it to be. Yeah, it's a losing battle trying to get it to focus and so I can see at the same time. It's a thin little point, but it's got steppiness to it. Did I say thin little? I meant it's a thin pointy point. But it's got little steps. I'm just going to live with it. Yeah. Oh, well. You start sharpening the edge. Yeah. And do some stuff you can't see. Just because I'm going to do a rock to point on this live stream. Yeah. What's a rock to point? Where you been? I try to do rock to point videos whenever I can. I have not been doing all that many lately because they are kind of a pain. Yeah. There's always something that messes you up. Especially when you transition from one mindset to another. When it starts getting thin, it's a totally different mindset. And sometimes a rock acts totally different. It changes its personality, Just like when, you've had a friend for years and then you finally decide, hey, let's just roommate together and save on the rent. And you find out it's a whole different ballgame. Yeah. I thought you were my friend. Yeah, that's before you took my space where I usually put my toothbrush, dude. You're going to put your spit on the same place as my toothbrush? No. Dang, I didn't know you were so picky about toothbrushes. Yeah. And I don't even keep my toothbrush anywhere near the toilet like you do. That just grosses me out. And you keep your toothbrush in your shower. Also, I find your toothbrush in your shower. I find the toothbrush sitting on top of the toilet tank. I find a toothbrush in the sink, just floating around in there. So you never know. That's the same as flintnapping, believe it or not. Once you get down to the nitty gritty and move in and share the same apartment with the arrowhead, when it starts getting really, really thin, it changes its whole personality. It becomes really, really irritating to live with. Oh man, you don't even know. Yeah, those of you who are nappers, you know what I mean. Yeah. And you don't even know if the stone is a cycle. But you'll find out when it starts getting thin. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. But if you do the casual thing where you're just making bifaces, that's not real napping. No. In my view, you got to get, you got to move in with the stone and start really, really thinning it down to know what the characteristics are. Yeah. If you really want to know the stone, yep. But you don't have to. No. If you can get away with not making the points really thin, I recommend that you don't. Just it's very rare, but some people say, "Yeah, I'm not really interested in getting super thin points." And if someone says that to me, it's like I don't want to say anything, but that's like you are a rare person. Yes, you are, and I don't want to say nothing because you'll get embarrassed or something. Like I don't want to be like nobody's like me. I want to be like everybody else. I don't want to say that you're not like anybody else or not like everybody, and then start, having bad experiences with these cyclostones. Yeah, that's why people, ask me, "How do you get them thin? How do you do it?" And it's like being a life coach. How do I live with this person? I need help. It's driving me crazy. Yeah, I know. How do I know that these thinning episodes are a lot like living with someone that you just thought you knew, but all of a sudden they change? I don't know. I don't know how I know that. Yeah, I don't know. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to figure out now where I can remove material to make it a little more symmetrical without dulling it. Because if I just pick on the edges to get it symmetrical, it dulls my beautiful sharpness. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm. But it's sometimes it installs this step fractures even more. Stupid symmetry. Yeah. Oh well. How much doo doo can you live with? If you can live with lots of doo doo, lots of problems, if you can live with a lot of that, you're in better shape. Yeah, much better shape. Okay, so that's the preliminary preform. Well, that is the preform. It's not preliminary. That is the preform. Let's see. Let's see. Mike Mason says he's multitasking. Killer Cork says, Tommy, that's a good price. Okay, we're talking about prices of stuff. Let me see. I'm going to go to the end of the chat, or I'll scan and see if there's questions. How about that? All right, we do have some questions here. It looks like I went all the way to the bottom, and it looks like we got some questions. So let me go back up a little further. Okay, I've already read that part. I already read that one, but not to you. I already read it. So my God. Let's see here. Mike Mason says, so my consideration on making the poison more effective is about making little spaces for the poison to settle in, especially if instead of poison it were feces. Yeah, but actually try to put stuff on the arrow. Go out and put dirt and feces and stuff on an arrowhead, and then carry the arrow around for a little while. Go for a walk on the trail with at first it's going to be wet mud or wet feces or scat, whatever you want to put on there. Walk around. Eventually, especially if you're walking through grass or underbrush or the trail's got a lot of ups and downs and you're moving around a lot. You're going to look at your arrowhead after a while and hey, most of it fell off as it dried. So even in the spots where it's got little serrations, it'll fall off. How do I know? I don't know. I don't know these things. So what they used to do is they would mix the poison with a resin or stick something sticky. All right. So usually it was rattlesnake venom. They mix it with some kind of tree sap or something that was sticky. Like maybe maybe there's like milkweed. Let's as an example. You just break the milkweed and there's sticky sap. You just mix that with rattlesnake poison and stick it on there. And when it dries, it stays. You don't need the little serrations to hold it in. You use a resin that's sticky to hold it on there. That's one. Number two, if you got poison and stuff, all kinds of crud in there with the serrations, in between the serrations, how effective do you think those serrations are going to be when you hit something and it's all clogged up in between with stuff? Yes, the serrations increase the surface area, okay, but you got to be very careful with it. A thin film of poison and resin will work because the serrations will still be effective. You don't want clumpy stuff in there because it'll reduce the effectiveness of the serrations. So why put them in? But yeah, I have argued in the past that serrations increase the surface area, but I've thought about it and I've also tried to put mud and dirt and stuff on there. And whenever you put something on that dries, it's not sticky, it'll come off. And that's not including actually releasing it from the bow, the shock of it flying out of the bow and then doing a little bit of a before it stabilizes will shake off some stuff too if it's not stuck on there. All right. Um, so yeah, that's my take right now on that one. Um, let's see. A better chance of sepsis that way if there is a chance your target gets away after a non-lethal hit. Yeah, sepsis takes a long time to affect an animal, though. You kind of do want the animal to have some sort of immediate effect. Um, that's the best. It'll slow the animal down for one, and number two, you don't want the animal to be able to uh, get an effective adrenaline rush and still be able to fight back once you reach it. Okay, so it's got to be like drugged or pretty much feeling like it's not going to want to do anything, and any fear or adrenaline is not going to affect it too much. Uh, long-term punishments on serrations can be a long-term punishment if the arrowhead stays in the wound. That's for sure. Aaron Wilson, do you apply much inward force with your indirect percussion? No, not in the beginning. Some people want to know if I do this, if I push a lot like that and then hit. And the answer is no. You put a lot of in force before hitting? No. Now, during hitting? Yes. Depending on what you want the flake to look like. Short flake, not much in force. Long flake, much more in force. Yeah. This angle varies. Okay. And even if I were to show you exactly what angle I use, it might not work for you. Why? Many different things. This is different for you. You're not using the same stone. This is different for you because you might have it sharpened a different way, or it might not be the same alloy of copper. You may have just a physical, physically heavier hands than I do. So if I needed to put a little bit more in force because my hands are light, it's different from yours if your hands are much heavier than mine, as an example. You don't need as much in force. So the angle changes slightly depending on how heavy your hand or arm is. Okay? Um, all kinds of things will affect the in force. or the position that you're using, or and also if you're using pressure assistance or not. Um, yeah, but I personally don't use a lot unless I want a long flake, but I don't pre-pressurize it if that's what you're asking. In most cases, some cases I do add extra pressure to begin with. Yeah, but it depends. That type of refinement usually depends on the type of stone I'm working. Roy Broski's here. Hey, you're late. I had to look for the live stream. Really? How many channels are called Jack Crafty? Noah's here. Finally made it. Yep, made it. Okay. Peepass. I haven't seen you before. Or did I see you last time? You'll find out if the stone is a psycho. Oh, yes. Hippie Mike's here. All righty. I'm feeling what you're throwing down. Yep. Roy says, I mean, I get tired of being pushed around by people. I live in a cheap housing. It's unavoidable, so it gets tempting to the point of throw out napping or even my freedom. Dang. Scott Lauer says, Roy, where there's a will, there's a way. Keep chipping, buddy. Yes. Aaron says, I always use 56.3 degrees as my angle. Yeah, there you go. See? Somebody who knows. Someone who's using the angulometer. Roy says, landlord doesn't want to get rid of the dude. I might end up napping in the parking lot on a tarp. There you go. Yeah. Especially if those parking lots have those little overhead cover things. That's where I would be. Oh, yeah. Of course, you have to nap somewhere where the other cars aren't parking because you can flatten someone's tire with this flint and don't get any ideas. Let's see. Jermaine is here. Roy says, yeah, I don't get notified for some reason about the live streams. That's not good. Yeah. Brennan says, yeah, people suck, Roy. Hang tough. They only hear the noise it makes and refuse to see the good hobby and good habits of napping. Yeah. And the philosophical aspects of napping too. Right? Philosophical. Okay, so am I going to do notches on this? I'm going to have to because I still got an hour left. Yeah, almost an hour left. What kind of notch am I going to do? What kind of notch am I going to do? Just do my favorite corner notching stuff. I know it's same old. But I love the corner notching. Yeah. I am going to not be napping through some crystal pockets, though. To get corner notches in here, I'm going to have to eliminate some of the crystal pockets. Anyway, let's see. Should I use the Nachomatic? What's the Nachomatic, dude? This. What is this? It's a spring-loaded vertical punch. Yeah, I should use it because you can't see. You're going to use it because we can't see it? Yeah. It's fun for me when you can't see. Dude, you got a weird sense of humor, man. Yeah. Tell me about it. All righty. So I'm going to do corner notches. I don't care. Yeah. Same old. I just start doing like that. I just start them like that. And then maybe do a couple thinning flakes with percussion before I actually start the notching. If I'm smart and remember, I should do some thinning flakes before I start the notching. Grind it for the percussion flaker. And let's see if I can get in there. See, this is pointed enough. to get in there. I've created these little perfect platforms. Let's see if I can actually utilize a perfect platform. I usually don't have much luck with those. Not like that. I had to switch it the other way around to hit it the opposite of what I thought was going to hit it. Did it work? It's kind of working a little bit. Let's see. What was that? I was removing the weak spots at the bottom of that notch so I can do the next strike. Okay? Without having to use the pressure flaker or the file or anything. I just tap, tap, tap. It gets it a little bit duller. All right, so that's good enough to start it. Yeah. All right, we are going to proceed with the Nachomatic and probably use a little bit of the file action too. Yep. So I can do the Nachomatic right straight on my lap or on the pant leg. Usually I don't nap on the pant leg or anything like that, but what else can I do with the Nachomatic? I got to put it down somewhere. I got to put the workpiece down somewhere so I can work the spring. Can't see what I'm doing, but I'm grinding off the weak spots after I take a flake off. Or this actually punches out a series of little flakes. Once in a while, I get a complete single flake. But I still got to grind it down. But see, the single flake took off part of that barb right there, so it's not that great to take just a single flake. It's better to just nibble at it so you don't wipe out one of the barbs. Yeah. Nibble at it. That's it. That's what I should do. Yeah. That's what you should do. I'm taking some material off the side now too, because I ruined that barb. I had to rebarb it. Yeah. Okay. Why aren't you ever serious, dude? Why aren't you ever serious? I don't learn when you're just being a goof. You should watch a different channel then. Yeah. Hey, someone gave me $5. Jesse gave me $5. Thank you. What else did I miss? I don't know. I'm trying to get this notch going. It's not going. I'm afraid to hit harder than this. I already blew off part of one of the barbs. I had to get the other Nachomatic because this one's too rounded. The one that I was just using. See, I got two. The first one is too rounded, and this doesn't matter too much with the spring messed up, but it's rounded. So neither one of those is working. So maybe I should just go to this Sharpie point. So you know what the skunks are going to spend that $5 on? Jesse, I smell it all the time. Roy Browski, you're working on mammoth sculptures? Oh, they're turning out okay? Good. You mentioned the mammoth sculptures last time. Yeah, Jesse's the one making slabs from broken beer bottles in his microwave kiln. Yeah. Roy says, people joke about me playing Minecraft, but I'm actually attempting rebuilding Tenochtitlan lately. I might work on that today. I don't know what that is. Mac Bales is here. Just got back from the Black Rock Knapping. Great weekend. Awesome. I have not been reading much of the chat, just so you know. Okay, Mac? I'm trying to get this Notchomatic to work on this shirt. Yeah, there you go. So the pointy one is working. Well, at least now it is. We'll see. It could stop working here in a minute. I might just crunch these notches in if it doesn't work well. But I'm trying to make it easy on myself. But I have a feeling that it's actually requires more concentration to work the Notchomatic than if I were just to sit here and crunch them in. Yeah. But the Notchomatic should allow me to make deeper notches with less effort physically. Mentally, it requires more effort to control this Notchomatic, but physically, I just blew away more of it. Again, on that side, I believe in more of the notch away. I know you want to see it where the notch doesn't get blown away, so you know how to not blow away the notch. But believe it or not, that requires luck as well as skill to not blow away the barb. Yeah. It's a bit of luck. If you get barbs intact, if they remain intact, that does require a little bit of luck. Yes, yes. So there's no way to teach luck. It just happens. I do the same technique no matter if it's blowing away the barbs or not. It's just trying to make sure I don't take off a flake that's bigger, and I just use less force. Everything else is the same, just less force. And maybe a slightly different position. But I'm bumping into that inclusion right here on that notch, and it's not going further. I'm a little bit upset that I blew off the barbs, but I can fix that in a minute. How do I fix it? Just by reshaping the stem a little bit to make it look like the barbs are not so far up. I just trim off more off the base, and it shortens the stem, and it makes the barbs look longer. Yeah. Where is my notcher? I was using this earlier on obsidian, so it may be a little bit too skinny, a little bit too thin. I might end up bending the notcher. And of course, I'm going to hold it right where you can't see it. I don't know if I'll be able to get through that area where it's got that inclusion. That's what I'm working on now. Do the hard one first. Do the difficult notching first. That way, if it stalls out, you just bring the other one up to where it stalled. That way, you don't have to keep trying to unstall it. You just drive one side until it stalls, and then match the other, and then bring the other one up to that level, and just stop. And it's symmetrical. Yeah. That's the easy way to do it. But that provided you start with this, with the harder side. Make sure that side is actually the harder to nap side. Because if it isn't, you can end up stalling the other side even worse. And then now you got two stalls and no symmetry. And then you'll be sad. Yeah, sad napper. Not a happy napper. So you'd be sitting in the parking lot napping for no reason. It didn't even work, man. I moved out of the apartment and everything. Yeah. Gotta have a spot for napping, though. Gotta have a spot. All right, so I crunched them in that far, but I'm gonna take some off the base so the barbs will look longer. Yeah. So I'm going to reshape this a little bit. Hold on. It won't be completely symmetrical. I don't like removing too much off of the good barb. Yeah. I'll remove some off the good barb, but not too much. Make it to where you can almost see the asymmetry, but the asymmetry won't be all that noticeable. Hopefully. Am I telling you tricks on how to make a point look better? Yeah, it's a trick. Except you can't see. All right, let's see. This was a good idea, man. Nap during the live streams. So now you, not only are you not reading the comments, but we can't see what you're doing. It's excellent. Yep, perfect. Mm-hmm. Oh, dang. I crunched that base so much, it took a big bite out of that inclusion. That's not good. There's some stuff in there I didn't see was in there earlier. Holy moly. How did I miss all that? I'm revealing a bunch of mess and crud in that stem. I'm a little worried that the stem was going to snap across the neck. Yeah, you can snap a neck while you're napping. All right, let's see. So how many do we got in the chat? We got 29. See, people don't want to see napping. Usually there's about 30 or 40. Or more than 30, almost 40. But they don't like it. They don't like seeing the napping. Apparently. Even though they always complain. When are you going to start napping? So they want to know that so they can leave, you know. I'll start napping and then they'll leave. Yeah. So I usually wait for them to leave before I start napping. But apparently, the ones that want to see the napping, once I start, that's when they leave. Yeah. Looks that way. They're just here for the chat. They're just here for the chat, dude. Yeah, maybe so. I don't think I'm going to switch back to only chat, though. It's a little bit better if I do napping. For me. So, because then I've got at least some bifaces to mess with later on. Yeah. But yeah, let's see. What did I miss? Roy is leaving. It's a Napalacious live stream today. Yeah, it is. Yep. Okay. So I'm encountering some mess in there. while I'm reshaping that stem. That's my issue right now. I gotta try to get rid of that one little spot, but it's not gonna let me. Nope. Come on. Do it. Don't make me hit it really, really, really hard. Because that whole stem will come right off. Yeah. That's good enough. See, if I took some off the bottom of the stem and it makes the barbs look longer again. Yeah. So now I'm just going to sharpen it. Yeah, okay. Finish sharpening the edges. Let's see, where am I? And then I'll pay attention to the chat at the last 30 minutes of the live stream. Right? Right. So we're talking about poison earlier on arrowheads, and maybe serrations were going to help the poison, or poison helps the serrations. We're talking about serrations first, and then we got into the poison thing. What else could the serrations be used for that we haven't mentioned? Other than maybe an intimidation effect. Oh, those guys got serrated arrowheads. Let's get out of here. Let's boogie. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and modern archery seems to be, well engineered. So if serrations were a really big deal, modern broadheads would all be serrated. Yeah, anything that gives you an advantage in sales or whatever, in hunting. If it gives you an advantage in hunting, you're going to sell more arrowheads. Yeah. With the modern broadheads, heck, if the test showed that serrations were better for modern broadheads, I would buy the serrated ones. Yeah. Come on. Oh, it's still too tough. This copper is kind of soft. All right, ready? There it goes. Why did grinding help? I can put more pressure on it without it crushing. See, I was afraid to put pressure on it before because I knew it was going to crush and it just wouldn't go. Like right there. I put lots of pressure on it and it stepped instead of. It's either going to not do anything or it's going to create a step fracture. Yeah. I'm going to just sharpen it with percussion. This stone is a little bit too rough and unpredictable now that it's getting thin. Oh, man, that's not good. I don't want to show you. It's embarrassing. I got a line of step fractures. I'm trying to sharpen it, and I got one step fracture. I said, well, I could take that out with the next flake. Oops, another step. I can take it out with the next flake. 3 steps in a row. Yeah. Because the stone is unpredictable. Usually I can catch it. Take the step fracture out with the next flake, but no. Okay. This side worked better. Yeah. That's always the way, though. It's going to be all wonky if I just leave it. So I don't know what to do. Force my way through there. Hold on a second. Mike says, I would assume serrations would slow down the arrow down after entry. Kind of makes me think it's for war or people hunting. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that one. Same with really long, narrow points and very thin points. People points. Yep. They don't really serve a practical purpose hunting game with the really delicate points. Yeah. There was one study done on a culture from the Southwest. I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Mogollon. That when they were at war, their points were a lot longer than peacetime arrow points. So when they were moving into a new territory, they would use long, narrow arrow points. But when they settled in, the arrow points became shorter and stubbier and thicker instead of long, skinny, narrow, and thin. You know what I mean? So they were, they settled in and they went back to hunting. But when they were on the warpath or whatever, they would use long, thin points and with serrations as well. But that's just one culture. You don't want to expand from that and say, well, that's what everybody did. That's just one example. So that is a possibility. And I've had that opinion for a while that the fancy points are war points. Hunting points don't need to be fancy. Not at all. In fact, you can just haft a dull a dull point to a stick, and it'll work. Yeah. You can even just haft a flake onto a stick, and it'll work, especially for small game. Just take a small flake, it doesn't matter what shape it is. It doesn't really matter where you haft it. You just haft it to the end of a stick, and it'll still work. It doesn't have to be all fancy like this. Yeah. And I made the tip a little bit more pointy than I needed to because it had some steps, and I still have step fractures on that side. But I minimized it without having to remove too much width. Yeah. All right. So that's the rock to point. And I lost maybe 10 viewers because I was napping a lot. Yeah. All right. Let's look at the chat. What did I miss? Let's see. Those other times don't count because I wasn't even thinking, says Mike. All right. What did I miss? I'm going to start looking at the chat now until we're at the end of the live stream. Jesse says, Nacho, use the Nacho. I tried using Nachomatic on this and it blew away the barbs, so I didn't want to continue. By crunching in the notches, I preserved the barbs. Yeah. Can you see? What kind of point is it? What's the name of this point? Is there one like this from Texas? It'd be like an Ellis or Edgewood. I forget which one. So, yeah. There are points like this in Texas that look just like this. Except I think they would have straighter sides. I like the excurvate sides, though. Yeah. The base is kind of thick for hafting because of that defect in there. So I had to leave it kind of thick. I don't know if you can see. But this will be available in the next auction. Yeah. Unless you want me to haft it. Maybe I'll haft it in something and then sell it hafted. Let's see. So, yeah, ask your questions or, talk about anything you want. Doesn't matter. I'm going to pay attention to the chat now. To pay more attention to the chat. Yeah, I'm not going to nap this at all, so that one's going to be thrown out. I got a request to nap some small flakes in the future, so I'm going to save these. I'm saving some of the Knife River flint too. What are the ballistics of this point? Says Alan Cole. I wish I knew. This is a very typical atlatl dart point in size, shape, and hafting configuration. Expanding stem, you know, corner notched, excurvate sides, no serrations, very pointy tip, flat base. It's common in many areas of the country throughout many time periods. Okay. So the ballistics are good. Yeah. How many grains? All right, let's get the grain scale. Let's see. I'll measure the length, the width, the thickness. We can get the ratio, and then the grains. Yeah. Let's see. What are the specs? Have I ever done a group of points that were supposed to weigh the same and be the same dimensions and all that? Yes, and it is a royal pain. 172 grains. 172. You're going to have to take my word for it because you can't see it. All right, and then I'm going to measure. These you can see. See. Let me look at it first. It's like 2 3/4. Almost 2 5/8. A little bit more than 2 5/8. Or am I not reading that right? I'm not reading it right. Let's try this again. It's a little bit less than 2.5. 2 7/16. All right, so let me. For some reason, I didn't have it on the base. Oh, that's on the millimeter side. There, 2 3/8, right? Yeah. Okay, and then the width on it. 1 1/8. 1 3/16. 1 3/16 width. Okay, and then the thickness. Let's do this in millimeters for the width. 30 in width divided by 6, 5 to 1. Pretty typical. Let's get the book and see how this compares to the Ellis or Edgewood points in Texas. Yeah, let's get the book. That way we can do it honestly and not be a crook. Yeah. Get the book so you won't be a crook. It rhymes. Ellis. This is an Ellis point. These are actual size, okay? That's the Ellis, so it might be an Ellis. But mine's a little bit larger. And mind you, these are little dart points in the book. Mine's a little bit larger than those. Okay. Like I said, these are actual size in the book. So they're not 172 grains in the book. These arrowheads in the book, they're not going to be 172 grains. They're going to be less. And they're at little dart points. How do I know these are? Because they're called late to transitional archaic 1000 BC. Yeah. So transitional between bow and that little, that period where they would transition. They were using both at the same time in many places. Okay, Edgewood. This is the Edgewood. This is more in line with the size. Can you see? Can't see. There's got to be a better way to do this. Yes, there is. Now, if I make the base concave, it look more like an Edgewood. Edgewood. what is Edgewood time period? Transitional archaic as well. So it's probably related to the Ellis, except these just have concave bases. I could put a concave base on here. Yeah, these are a little bit larger than the Ellis. What you talking about, Ellis? It's not Ellis, it's Willis. We're talking about Ellis points. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, come on. I was trying to get rid of that. Yeah, that's better. See, it allows me to get rid of some of that cruddy material in there. Yeah. Much better. Maybe the Edgewood is the Ellis that had cruddy material on it. Yeah. So they had to nap it away and it became concave. That's what it is. Maybe that's it. I solved the mystery. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. The barbs, how the barbs look? They're downward. All right. So yeah, I made the base a little concave, just a little bit. It took out some of that crud. So yeah, this is a close match because you see the stem is about the same length, the neck is about the same width. The blades on these, some of these look resharpened, right? But I'm probably a little bit long. What else could it be? What else? Let's see. What else could it be? I don't know. Let's see. Now these are longer. The Ensor, but I didn't make the Ensor. It looks a lot different than that. Yeah, Ensor has barely any barbs, but it's a lot older. It's 2000. No, it's also a transitional. Never mind. I thought it was older. What is this one? Oh, that. Never mind. Let's see here. A Frio. It's about the size of a Frio, perhaps. These are. Let's see. Where's the Frio? This one. Let's put this up here next to the Frio. That's more in line with the size, right? All I have to do is put a notch in the bottom, and it's a Frio. Yeah. I can notch it like this one. Yeah. Except the Frio is going to be, it's going to have a fatter neck. Yeah. Oh, no, it couldn't be like one of those. I could do a Frio out of it. Just keep going with the notch. But I don't want to. It's as good as it is. My book is dying. It's falling apart. We got, let's see. Sal is in the house. All right, I missed his entrance. Where do we go? What are we doing? I'm missing too much. Okay. All right, see. Mike, let's see. Did Native Americans have assassins? You know they did. Of course they did. Yeah. Anything related to warfare, they had it. Yep. And probably stuff that we don't even know about anymore. How many grains? Okay, 172 grains, and you got the length, width, and ratio. Pretty sure every culture has in some aspect at some point. Yeah. Now some guys will mount this to an arrow. It's a little bit big for an arrow. Where are my arrow shafts? Oh, I got two in the works. Two extremes here. Right. This is a much weaker one. Right. This arrow shaft is going to be at over 100 pounds in spine weight, but it'll fit. This will fit on that. pretty easily. But you don't shoot from a 100-pound bow. You're gonna shoot probably from this. This looks like a 40-pounder, 50-pounder maybe. And if I shave off the bark, it's even thinner. Yeah, let's shave off this bark. These are just preliminary. I don't use this. I mean, not preliminary. These are just samples that I took, but I don't use this kind of wood. It's called alder buckthorn. It's a little bit too weak for most of the stuff that I like to use. I am going to make some arrows out of alder buckthorn, though. Hold on. I mean, in the future, I'm told it's probably a lot like hazel as far as strength and weight. So that would be useful to know. I will do the specific gravity. I think I know the specific gravity, or I can find the specific gravity on hazel. And then when I do my specific gravity tests on the alder buckthorn, I'll compare. And if it's the same, then I'll just say this is a hazel substitute. All right, so I shaved the bark off of that. To mount this, that's a big arrow head for this arrow. Yeah. That's much bigger than I would use now. To be legal in hunting, yeah, I suppose, but it's just way too large for an arrow for me. If I were to make an arrow, see this 1 3/16. I would like the arrowhead to be 7/8 or as narrow as possible. As narrow as I can get away with to mount on an actual arrow shaft. And I need to taper this down, actually. I tapered the end of the arrow shaft. What is the diameter of this one? 5/16. 5/16. And I would taper it down a little bit more. Yeah, not too much, but just a little bit more. When you wrap it, so it doesn't get all bulky with the sinew, you taper it as much as the sinew is thick, right? So it looks straight after you wrap it instead of fatter. Okay, now that would be too much of an arrowhead for me. When I make arrows with stone points, the points are like 40 grains, not 170. But it works. I mean, the guys will use it. Let's see. Yeah, so Sal's in the house. He got here a while ago. Who else is here? Swine Hunter. Yay. Let's see. What did I miss? Patrick, have you seen the Kirk serrated point? Would that be for hunting or 187? Noah asks the question. The Kirk would be for hunting for sure. But, I mean, it can be used in warfare. I'm trying to think. Kirk was found in it's in the mid section of the country, right? I think it was probably a multi-use point for everything. Warfare and hunting. Mike Mason says assassins who maybe hunted particular human targets that would be specialized in their tools. I know there were war parties. Yeah, and different tribes had different war trophies. Some of them collected heads and skulls and stuff. Some of them collected scalps. Some of them collected various other things that I don't want to mention, like ears, that kind of thing. But it depends. There's not much reliable research on warfare, unfortunately. One, because researchers really don't like the topic of warfare. Most researchers don't like that topic. I don't know if it's because it's too obvious, and they want to explore other areas, or they just find it distasteful, or both, or their education is more geared toward the artsy fartsy side, so to speak. I don't want to. I don't want to degrade the arts or talk smack about the arts because I like the arts. But when it comes to weaponry, obvious weaponry, because it is used for hunting, and it's technically weapons for hunting. You got to think, well, what else do you use weapons for? Yeah. So I'm just tapering the end of this, and I can do it with stone tools. I've made several sets of arrows with stone tools, and you can see it. Just a little flake can be very, very useful. You're not seeing how many actual shavings are coming off of this. But with the way I make arrows is the part that grows from the ground is where I create the knock. And the part that grows up toward the sky is the point. That's the way I make my arrows. Isn't that going to be heavy back here? Yeah. So you carve this down. What time is it? I got 9 minutes. Why do I leave the bark on the ends? Because it splits when it dries. This helps to keep it from splitting. It doesn't always work, but I always had to put some kind of sealer on the ends, especially on the fat end. On this end, it doesn't matter too much. But on the fat end is where it usually breaks up. No, splits, checks, not breaks up. Why don't I use the stone flake? Yeah, I forgot about the stone flake to remove the bark. Okay. It's just as effective. Yeah. Okay. And what I do is I shave it down from like the middle of the point. The middle of the arrow. Start shaving it down toward the knock. I leave the knock large. It's going to be bulbous. Yeah. This takes a while. That's why they say back in the day the arrows took forever to make, and it's true. Because you got to shave it down. I mean, a stone makes fast work of it, but it's still a process of spending the time. I'm just going to do something real quick here so I can show you how the knocks are developed with stone tools. And if it's a lightweight wood, it works really well. Like alder buckthorn is pretty weak, so it's carving very fast. And you just use a harder wood for the foreshaft. There are different ways to attach foreshafts to the main shaft. I'm getting a lot of chatter up here. But hold on. I can remove that with a little bit of sanding. Let's see, what time is it? 7 more minutes. Now you do this with a bunch of arrows, and then you got to shoot them through your bow to make sure the spines are correct. After you're shaving these, but every arrow is different. You got to put the knock in here first, and then shoot them out of your bow to make sure they stay, or they'll become straight shooting. You start with something too thick, and then you keep shooting it through the bow and shaving it down. Shoot it through the bow, and when it hits straight without fletching, then you know you reached the right spine for that bow. If you don't have a spine tester. which back in the day they did not have spine testers, but you can build a primitive spine tester to get a general idea of how much it should be bending. You know, the Archer's paradox and all that. Anyway, you can see that it's getting restricted. See that? So you just shave it in a very consistent way. You know, and it's good to have little gauges that you can gauge these different points along the shaft. But it's a tedious process because you got to keep shooting out of your bow or putting it on a spine tester. Make sure you don't make the arrow too weak. And when you're shaving it down like this toward the knock, you want this to be the fat end because the pith is small. When you're shaving off a lot of wood, you don't want a lot of pith in there. There's a lot of pith usually up here near the sky end. I just twist it up here. Okay, it's pretty quick work. So it becomes a barreled shaft where it's thicker in the middle than on the ends, except the knock is the original diameter. But you can, or you're supposed to compare it to the other shoots that you gather. And I can shave the thick one down to this size as long as there's not much pith. And on these, you can see the pith is very small. So it's excellent for shaving down without weakening it too much. On the other end, the pith is larger. Okay, but I can shave this down to match this. Yeah. And you can see the chatter from the shaving, but that can be removed by sanding. I'm going to pretend this is a stone. But anyone who does woodworking, you know all this. You're just not really used to using stone tools for shaping. But you can get it pretty smooth pretty fast. I don't have a good stone to show you, but then you don't need to get it completely smooth. You can burnish the rest of it. Burnishing, just take a piece of antler or something, and then instead of fine sanding, you can burnish it. All right, 3 minutes. So how do you carve the knock with the stone? It just takes a while. What I like to do is I get a large stone and hold it and then move the arrow to get to carve the knock. In a lot of these artifacts, you'll see the knocks are not very deep. And they use a pinch grip. That's why they have a bulbous knock, so they can pinch it. And you just need a little bitty knock to hold it onto the string. It doesn't clip onto the string like modern arrows. Back in the day, they just had a little knock. They did a pinch grip. Okay. It would be shaved down more than this, but I just wanted to show you that it leaves a bulbous knock once you shave down this part from about halfway down to here. Okay. And it's pretty straightforward work with a sharp flake. Let's see, what do we got? When you're going to start napping in the Hobbit voice, never gets old. Jesse. Let's see here. Pat, I'm finding the punch notching works great on a stalled notch. Then I go back to pressure. Glad you showed reverse indirect. Use it on stubborn stuck notch on a thicker base. Awesome. I just carved a magnolia wand and it was so nice, said Kiowa. Cool. Taking a moment to recommend Fat Electrician's last War Chief story. Interesting. Greg Roper is here. I don't think I've seen you before in the chat. Pat, can you make me a 4.5-inch drop point gut hook, flint knife blade, or a complete knife? Osage handle would be nice. No, well, I could, but I don't do any work on the side anymore. Sorry about that. 4.5-inch drop point gut hook flint knife. Yeah, no, I can't. I could try to do that. I've tried to do that before, but I don't do stuff on the side anymore. Unfortunately, I don't have time. Stay hydrated. Yeah. Noah says, Greg, I'll send you a rock. Okay, so it's 8 o'clock. I'm going to end the live stream here in a minute. I need to go check out actually Fat Electrician's channel. He sounds familiar. I'm pretty sure I know. I've seen that channel. All right. Scott says good night, everybody. I'm going to say good night to everybody. I will do somebody asked me to do a set of arrows on video. I will eventually do a whole set and how I shoot, test, and how I do the spine testing without an actual spine tester, on an actual modern one. I can make a primitive spine tester. All you need is, not all, but you need 2 supports and a weight, and then a mark, some way to mark where the bending is, where it ends up. But that's after you already shoot the shaft and figure out which shafts work with your bow, and then you just copy that shaft with the next ones, with the next arrows. Thanks for the live stream, Patrick. You're welcome, Alan. Good information exchange tonight, says Brennan. I'm glad you think so. Yes. Thank you. So yeah, I'll check out Fat Electrician's channel. He does sound familiar. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this alder buckthorn actually shaved down faster than I thought it would. That's encouraging. Yeah. And the pit is very small, so I'm excited. Check the auction, everybody. Yeah, I'm going to check, and I'll check on the auction. And I'm going to I put likes on all the comments that I see. Just a short little note on the auction. I put likes on your bids or your comments. That's how you know that I see it. If there's no like or if there's no like on your bid, that means I didn't see it yet. As the time approaches the end of the auction, like right now, we've got 1 more hour left. I will check more often. You should have a like on your comment very soon. If not, that means I don't see your bids. So you have to try to either use a different phone or use your computer or try commenting somewhere else. Maybe your commenting isn't working. Maybe you have to restart your phone or whatever. Try that. All right. So good luck on the auction. I had a lot of good bids before the live stream started. And Bill Taylor says good night. Killer Cork says good night. All right, everybody. Good to see everybody. I'm gonna check the auction. I'm gonna have a little snack. And the next live stream is Wednesday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern time, which is 1 to 3 p.m. Central time. Most people are on Central time that watch my channel. All right. Ed Gould says, shake it easy. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.